everyone, and welcome to the Identity Security Solution Show. This is the place for all things SailPoint products and solutions. I'm your host, Alex Leemon, and today with me, it's Michael Presas, product manager here at SailPoint. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, thank you for having me. Really excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you. It's been an incredible year of excitement and announcements, and we are here to talk about observability and insights.
Yeah.
And let's just dive right in. What is observability?
You know what? That's a great question. So, again, Observability and Insights is a product that we are announcing this week at Navigate, and as part of that release, we're making the identity graph generally available to SailPoint customers. And in its simplest form, the identity graph is just a graph visualization of identity data, inclusive of human identities, agent identities, roles, access profiles, entitlements. And really what this provides is a new way for users to engage with their data, to orient themselves to their environment and make better decisions ultimately, right? Again, we're super excited about this release, a ton of value here. So.
Yeah, for sure. We hear a lot about visibility, right? Everybody talks about visibility because we know that we cannot secure what we cannot see, but we're introducing, or at least for me, a new word, observability.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? Why is this so important?
And I'm really glad you asked that question because it may seem like an exercise in being pedantic, right? But it really is a fundamentally different approach to solving the problem, right? And so to answer your question directly, we believe that visibility is really about the nouns, right? It's the things that are in the environment, how they relate to one another, and information about those things. Observability is really the why and the how, right? You take sort of a DevOps approach to this, and can you understand the state of the system based off of its output, right? And if that output is an access model, can you understand why that access model is the way that it is, right? And an illustrative example here is, my hotel overlooks a construction site, right? And I can see everything that's going on. I see all the little construction workers. They're little because I'm up high. They're probably very large gentlemen, but I got some of them, digging a hole over here. I see all the machinery. It's someone moving pallets, an excavator digging a hole. I can see everything that's happening, but I don't know why it's happening, right? I don't know why this guy's digging a hole or why they're moving those pallets. And the same is true about visibility and observability, right? Visibility is really only going to take you so far. And I think what's important to understanding that is really focusing on the problem here. The identity landscape is super complex, right? It's hyper dense. There's a ton of stuff in the modern enterprise environment. And so if you can see that, you're very quickly, or if you can only see that, you're very quickly going to become overwhelmed with information. And you can't really understand what needs to change or make a decision because you don't have that context, right? And so observability is really what gives that picture meaning and context, right? And so that's why the difference is so important, because again, it's a fundamentally different way to try and solve that problem.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking about identity teams and security teams and observability and insights, right? A lot of words. What can these teams do today, right? With both observability and the insights that come with it?
Yeah, that's a really key question. And we believe that this is a tool that can be used by both of these teams to work better together and ultimately reduce risk to the organization, right? So let's take a scenario here. Let's say some employee gets phished, right? The security team's going to do some initial triage, right? But what they're really going to want to know and what they're going to approach the identity team with, the question they're going to approach them with is, who is this or what is this thing and what do they have access to, right? And that is a somewhat tedious, if not dreadful research project, right? Because then you have to sort of meander around the organization, talking to people, going back and forth over email, reconciling spreadsheets, extracting data from systems. And it's really hard to do. I mean, it takes a lot of time, and you got to remember that is all time that's not spent actually mitigating and containing the threat, right? Or the breach. And so what we can do with the identity graph is we can build a graphical visualization of an identity's blast radius with a single click, right? So you can bring up an identity, you can view the totality of their access, gain additional context around why they're getting that access and what that access actually means.
Amazing.
And what that's going to do is that's really going to enable the identity team to sort of move on with their day, right? They can satisfy that RFI very quickly and easily, and then they'll be able to move on to the next thing. But the security team can then, instead of having to wait on this RFI to be fulfilled, they can actually get to resolving the threat, right? And so, again, really, really simple way for us just to bring these two teams together, help them collaborate more effectively to address threats and reduce risk.
Nice,
right?
like a common language.
Exactly,
Yes,
right? It's a
yes.
common frame, a common operational picture that they're both working from, which
Excellent.
is really helpful.
Excellent. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Any other use cases?
Yeah. There's a ton, under the sun, but we three really come to mind. So, first and foremost, that blast radius use case that we just discussed. If that identity is an agent, what do you do, right? It's a slightly different set of questions you need to know, and we can support that in the identity graph, right? We can show you, here is an agent. This is everything that the agent has access to. We can show you here are the humans, and here are everything that the humans have access to, and we can show you who has access to the agent too. So we're really bringing together these three critical pieces to help you address that sort of blast radius use case for an agent as well, right? And that comes through a deep integration with AIS and the Atlas platform. Another one that's really important, I think, is more access modeling focused, is this insight around multiple path access, right? And so we can highlight in the graph very quickly any of the entitlements and permissions that are being received via multiple access paths, right? And so this is where, I really want to underline this point, that this is why understanding how someone is receiving access is really important, right? Because you may, certify an identity and remove them from a role, but they may still have the access contained within that identity via another access pathway. So really important to strengthen your access modeling and your identity hygiene. And then finally, this last use case, I think, is less flashy than the agents, but it's something that I've come to really appreciate, especially after talking to a couple of customers. They each have their own war story around nested entitlements and direct access, right? It's fairly common, but it's very, very difficult and presents a really huge visibility challenge for exactly. It's a blind spot for a lot of these organizations because they can't build that sort of hierarchy and understand the relationships between those different entitlements. And that is like, you can't really change what you don't know, right? There's a risk of undue operational impact if you go in and just remove some nested relationship because you don't have that sort of visualization there. And what we can do in the graph is very cleanly and intuitively build that hierarchy so that you understand what relates to what. And then you can make a more informed decision about if you want to untangle that or how you want to go about that if you do. So three sort of different use cases, but again, there's a ton we have planned for O&I. So.
That's amazing. I mean, unprecedented, if you will, visibility and observability, and now all of the insights that come with it. So super exciting. Here is a fun question because we can't let you go without asking you a fun question. But what are you most excited about? What's next?
There's a ton to be excited about with O&I. I mean, it's a really exciting product. I think just to when I think about where we want to go next, I sort of think of investments in three different buckets, right? So visibility, insight, and control. Right? So visibility, I know we made that distinction around visibility and observability, but you need to get some data into the graph, right? You got to get the nouns and the nodes and edges into the graph, right? And so we really want to expand that number of objects that we support in the graph. With insights, it's really about what are the conditions that need immediate attention, and what are the things that these users really need to pay attention to, and what is that additional context we can bring to inform decisions. And then finally, control, it's all about enabling customers to enforce that decision, right? And so if we stop at visibility and insight, we're nothing more than a pretty picture,
right?
And we don't want to, that's not who we want to be, right? We want to be able to leverage SailPoint's deep integration with these downstream systems to enforce those changes, right? So some of the things I think about along those three buckets are with visibility. We're planning to bring machine identities in the graph, and just this week, I know it's Tuesday. Just this week, I've had multiple conversations with customers around the pain points around NHIs and machines, and so we're really excited to bring a new level of visibility to these specific type of identities. Along the lines of insights. we talk a lot about bringing identity context to the SOC. I think something that we can do here too is bring some of that SOC context, security context to identity, right? And so what we've been thinking through is really, are there sources of threat intelligence, dark web monitoring, that we can surface in the graph, right? So if you have a compromised credential, a compromised account, we see your corporate email or some identifier in a dark web dump.
Sure.
We can surface that as an insight to the graph. And that's really important context when you're making decisions around access and privilege and all of that. So, and then finally with control, there are two actions I think that I'm really excited about. One is being able to disable an account, right? That's a very definitive action that you can enforce on a downstream system, and it leverages SailPoint's deep connectivity.
Right.
And the next action I think is setting a lifecycle state too. So this is something that I think is really important because it ties the identity graph very closely to the Alice platform, right? Because what you can do is you can now set an event trigger for changes of lifecycle state, and now you have changes in the identity graph directly triggering workflows, right? Which provides our customers with a ton of extensibility to handle a whole bunch of different scenarios, especially with adaptive approvals coming through. So it's a really good interplay, I think, between the two product, the product and the platform, right? So yeah, again, have to say there's a ton that we have planned here, and we're really excited about this launch.
That sounds amazing. I mean, we're not stopping just at the observability and the insights. We're really empowering our customers to be able to actually take some action.
Yeah, exactly.
So super exciting. Thank you, Michael, for answering my questions and being here today.
Yeah.
And telling us all about observability and insights.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You can watch more episodes at SailPoint.com.